Hey everybody, John Felt here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing Christmas week. We have a couple things of interest, one dealing with temperature and one dealing with precipitation. I'll be talking about both of those in this week's briefing. Well, first of all, let's take a look at where our focus should be as far as impactful weather. That looks like that's going to be California, especially central and northern California. Moderate risk at higher elevations here for extreme rain and snow. So it looks like it's going to be a definite risk for flash flooding, urban flooding, landslides. So this area here is going to be under the gun this week. Now, as far as rain and precipitation last week, here we go. You can see the focus was on the Pacific Northwest, the Oregon and Washington State, Northern California. Boy, I tell you, it's been a very active atmospheric river season so far. And that's going to shift down into California this week and probably shift back up into the Pacific Northwest next week. But we did have some heavier precipitation in the form mainly of snow. Also, a couple pockets of heavy rain in the eastern U.S. Now, this is where we had that heavy snow. We had a clipper type system move right across here, 3 to 5 inches of snow, even a little bit higher in spots, and another area here. So a little bit of snow last week, some lake effect snow as well. Now, temperatures were quite cold over the eastern U.S. this week, and they were quite mild over the west. So as we get that amplified jet stream, it tends to amplify our temperature departures as well. And we did have some extreme cold, really cold weather for early in the season. The areas in blue, single digits, areas in purple were below zero. And that was last week. So as far as flooding goes, we already have very high or flood flows. We've had some record flooding in the Pacific Northwest. We have some higher flows in the Northeast. And this will be the area we're focusing on this week, this shaded area right here. Now what we have here is we have a Pacific ridge right in here, this strong area of high pressure. And what that does is that's going to amplify a ridge over the U.S., this ridge right here, as we go through the week. Here's our Pacific ridge. Now we have some lingering cold with this area of low pressure. But as we get by Christmas, take a look at this. We have this very deep low here, really focusing up Pacific flow into California, moisture, high levels of moisture, and we have an intense ridge right here. So these are the two weather makers. This will be rain and snow, extreme rain and snow. This will be temperature, very mild weather. So we take a look at the next 15 days. Each one of these is 5-day intervals. Take a look at this. We have a lot of above normal temperatures ahead the rest of December and going into early January. What's the exception? Where we have the clouds and the storm system in the western U.S., Pacific Northwest and the West Coast. Now, it looks like the temperatures are going to sort of peak. The ridge is going to peak in its intensity as we're near Christmas, and then it'll come down a bit, but still above normal. Now let's talk about Christmas Day. These are high temperatures, 60s and 70s over many areas. And if we look at the temperature departures, anything in the dark red, that's 20 degrees warmer than a typical Christmas. And this darker shade here, that's 30 degrees. Can you imagine that? 30 degrees warmer than a normal Christmas. Now, as far as snow goes, I've put this out a number of times, but the lighter shades of blue is where there's a greater than 50% probability of snow being on the ground on Christmas Day. And this is a model of indicating where there will be snow on the ground this Christmas season. So it looks like it's not going to be a white Christmas in most areas. Now, what about precipitation? Well, like I said, the Pacific Northwest, but mainly California is going to be the hot spot this week. Everywhere else, pretty quiet week as far as precipitation. So if you have travel plans, I don't see too much of a problem. Here's our snow forecast. Northeast U.S. and around the Great Lakes, there could be some issues. Everywhere else, you look like you're in pretty good shape. Now, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, I wanted to point out, even though the action's shifting to the south this week, it looks like in week 2, a long duration atmospheric river is going to continue across the west back into Washington and Oregon. Now let's look a little bit further out. I think I already discussed this, but this is week 2. Still mild. Look at this, 6 to 10 and 8 to 14, and pretty quiet. So I think the pattern that we're in, that I just described, is going to last through the end of the year into early January. And if we look at weeks 3 and 4, if you're going to enjoy this mild weather, this is what it looks like. Weeks 3 and 4 don't see any strong intrusions of cold air over large parts of the nation quite yet. Now, across the northern border with Canada, we could get some of that. Now, I wish you and your family a great Christmas period. I'm going to reduce my content a bit. I know everybody's focused elsewhere or traveling with your family or friends, but I will be watching the weather, and if I see anything significant, I'll put something out. Hope you have a great Christmas. Take care.